Oh, I need a freaking haircut. So for today's video, I like to reflect a little bit on my time at Tesla, and something that keeps coming up in the back of my mind as far as what made my time at Tesla so special, or something that maybe is not super well understood. And that concept that I'm thinking about is something that may seem very small or very basic or normal or really not that big of a deal that you achieve at Tesla is actually a huge deal anywhere but Tesla. This thought really came about when I was thinking about the things that I achieved or the team really achieved at Tesla while I was there. And the one thing that always sticks out in my mind is how many things that were dire or how many things that were super, super important we did on a daily basis, especially earlier on in my career there. So around 2017, 2018. The one thing to remember around that time is that Tesla was going through a huge ramp with Model 3, and me being on the service side of the business, on the distribution side, we still had this thing that was in its infancy, this thing that was being built from scratch that needed to be there to support the service network from a parts perspective. And thinking back, really what sticks out to me is there were so many things that were built on a daily basis that were so crucial and so huge. So things like building entire dashboard suites, for example, data or KPIs that the entire team relied on to make decisions. Okay, that had to be built from scratch. In the same day, we would develop a outbound process or an inbound process that would typically, take say months or sometimes even quarters at larger or different companies than Tesla to develop. We would do those in a day. We would just say, hey, here's a thing, go try it out. We would also be interviewing 20, 30, 40 people in a couple of days to try and build up the team. And we were constantly managing teams as well. So making sure we're doing the right thing, training, right? We were spending so much time driving the culture, and anytime a news article would come out, from Tesla in the news, oh, Tesla's going to go bankrupt, then we have to go sit down and manage expectations with the team to let them know, hey, that's not really the case from what we can see internally. We were also breaking records day in and day out, either good records or bad records, right? So, most lines shipped in a day or most product received in a day, or we would have a longest period of time that an order has been sitting in the queue, right? So these are bad records that we were breaking. So it was so crazy how often these things would happen. And in the amount of changes we made that were super fundamental to the business were mind-boggling. It was truly, truly crazy. And so when I start reflecting about this is, okay, so typically when I talk to other folks about their job or, based on my previous experiences before Tesla, even though I had really good employers, the pace was so different. It was so different. So it was structured more, I'm talking about something that was my time not at Tesla. It was, do your thing every day. You have a set rule of things you have to work on, update this dashboard, build this metric, talk to people, check progress on a specific project. It was very it was the same thing kind of each day. Your expectation was just to, hey, let's just make sure we get this done. And then what would happen is every so often, maybe months at a time or quarters at a time, a thing would happen, right? An event would be happening at the business. Hey, we acquired somebody. Hey, we have a new system coming out. Hey, we have this new thing we have to build, right, from scratch. And then those things would typically take weeks or months to do, right? You would have to sit down and do a project plan. You'd have to talk to a bunch of people. You'd have to build consensus, which could take just as long as the project itself, right, of actually implementing and doing the work. And there was a bunch of other steps we had to take. Sometimes politics would get in the way, so on and so forth. But there was a longer time frame from deciding to do something to actually doing it. And yes, these things were very rewarding once they got done, but you would experience this sort of thrill or this euphoric sort of feeling once every couple quarters, maybe once a year, right? Depending on how fast the business was moving. And I would love to hear from you as well. Is this pace something that you've experienced, right? Where every day is kind of the same, and then once every couple months or once a quarter or once a half year or something exciting happens that you get to work on, and then you have to wait you have to wait again for a long time to experience that same level of reward. I would love to hear from you. Is that the case where you work or the experiences you've had? I'd really like to hear from your perspective as well, because really the thing that I'm trying to get at is, does Tesla have this very unique thing where folks are able to feel this euphoric feeling or this sense of accomplishment that would usually be felt every, couple quarters or on a yearly basis at a regular company? Tesla, you can feel this thing almost every day by achieving these really, really difficult problems. And the thing that really jumped out to me as well at Tesla is that even when we achieved these massive things, there was like no fanfare. It was like, cool, we got it done, go. All right, next huge thing we got to tackle, right? And of course, within the four walls, it doesn't feel like a huge thing. It just feels like the thing we have to do. There's a lot of weight behind it. There's a lot of implications that can happen if you don't get it done, right? But it's just, yep, I did this. Good. Move on to the next thing. Move on to the next thing. Everything felt as if it was normal, right? But I think the big takeaway from that experience is that it seems like Tesla is very, very good at making sure that there is as little wasted work as possible, right? That each movement that somebody makes or each thing that they're trying to accomplish, that is not wasted. Even in the moments where you might have a failure, even in the moments where you've done something that doesn't work, those typically are learned lessons, right? Because you're taking something from that event that didn't work out. You're saying, yep, I did that. It didn't work. I'm going to take the lessons from that. I'm going to implement it somewhere else in a different way so that it doesn't happen again, right? You take the lessons learned and you apply it somewhere else. So even in the environment where Tesla moves so fast, and sometimes it could be trial by error to get to a point, the learnings you get from that is not wasted. It's not something that just goes away. It's something that you use for the next time you try something similar or the next time you try something where those lessons can be applied. And ultimately where I'm landing is that if a company is able to achieve that sort of environment where things are basically feel new every single day and you have challenges you have to face that are very big in nature or very fundamental in nature, and you have an environment that is constantly pushing you to innovate, to change for the better, to not be afraid of failure. If a company is able to have those core principles that we just discussed, I think it would make work so much more rewarding for so many more individuals. And so if you're somebody who owns a business, if you're somebody who has power to sort of create the culture or change a specific culture at a workplace, I would really encourage you to start thinking about, how do I enable a workplace that allows folks to work on big things as often as possible so that they can feel that reward, they can feel that euphoric sense of, what I do matters. What I do is very, very important. And to also make sure you have an environment that empowers those people to make decisions. And I'm really thankful to have had this time to reflect on this, because what it's really told me is that if you are really focused on what you're doing and you believe in the work that you do, it doesn't really matter what you're working on. It's going to have a massive impact. It's going to build a foundation for the thing that you're going to be working on at a later time. And unless you do that work, then you're not going to be able to do the work that will come up 6 months, a year down the road. You have to build that foundation. And so those small deals are really huge deals. And all you're really doing is laying brick by brick what the important things are to build the vision that you're trying to get to. The longer that Tesla can have that talent be as effective as it can be on a daily basis, it's going to be its true competitive advantage. And the longer that Tesla can do that, the more excited I get for its future potential. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, I'd love it if you throw me a like. If you want to see more stuff from me, you can click on subscribe. If you'd like to become a patron, I have a link to my Patreon in the description below. You can also join the channel by clicking on the join button right below this video. And I also have a podcast series that can be viewed on this channel or on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.